This is Marketing Uncomplicated. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Today, I have Cody Jensen, who is the founder and CEO of SearchBloom, an award-winning search engine marketing firm that has revolutionized the digital marketing space through its commitment to transparency and ethical practices. This, you guys, is extremely important because there is a lot out there. And with AI, I'm for sure certain that all of you guys are being bombarded, not even just us marketing, but you marketers, but you guys as business owners. After beginning his career at Google and raising through the ranks at a major digital marketing agency, Cody saw a major gap in the industry, the need for a firm that prioritized white hat strategies and measurable ROI. This insight led to the founding of SearchBloom, which has since grown into a multi-million-dollar company serving over 200 businesses across various industries. Under the leadership, SearchBloom has not only generated hundreds of millions of dollars for its client, but also maintains an industry-leading team retention rate of almost 5 years, actually, with just 2.1 annual turnover. And we'll get into team building on that. Welcome to the show, Cody. It's really good to have you here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, Sasha.
Yeah, so I want to start off by talking about you started your journey at Google and eventually spotted a gap in the industry that led to founding SearchBloom. Can you walk us through what you saw and what made you believe there was a better way to do this?
Yeah, I'll start with the Google aspect because that's what I fell in love with. That's when I fell in love with analytics. So at Google, I was on the Google Offers team, and that enabled me to work with a lot of small businesses that didn't really get into their Google Analytics. Google Offers was the equivalent of what Groupon is. It was their solution to combat Groupon because they did try to buy them. It
Yeah.
eventually failed, and I was out of a job.
Yeah.
I then started working for an SEO agency. I quickly learned that holy smokes, they're just selling snake oil, and I had to get out really quick because ethically it just didn't feel right to me.
Yeah.
And then I went to what I thought would be, you know, 10 levels up to another different agency that had, the award-winning stuff and all of that. But I learned again that it wasn't as much snake oil, but it was definitely a lot of offshore, low-level fulfillment, and there was definitely some black hat in there too, some
Yeah.
shortcuts. And I just once I learned about that as I became the director of strategy, I couldn't do it anymore. It just felt icky to me. So that's when I'm like, I know that there is a better way. I know that these agencies are trying to operate and maintain a certain profitability mark, but I believe that there is a way that we can meet in the middle where
Yeah.
maybe the agency doesn't make quite as much net, but it still provides that ethical long-term white hat solution to business owners that need such a valuable service. Because frankly, SEO gets a bad rap, and it deserves to get a bad rap because there are so many folks out there that take advantage of it. And
Yeah.
I hate that it has it, but at the same time, I'm glad that we have that bad rap because then we have people and organizations like SearchBloom that simply just don't operate that way, and it's just not really a competition when you look at them side by side.
Yeah, and I love that you say that, you're really focusing on bringing the ethics into it because, as you and I were just talking a little bit briefly before we hopped on, I mean, SEO is the gift that keeps on giving. And the low level, it's not that people overseas, can't conduct a high level, product or service for you, but it's knowing how to choose them and knowing where you're dangerous enough to understand the background of the system that you know that these guys can perform versus not perform. So it's also the difficulty in choosing that. But it's like you're really focusing on that triple bottom line, but really from the internal aspect of your team members, but also for the clients, because it's the idea of, volume isn't what matters, but you are taking less, but you're driving volume, which in the end will turn out to be the exact same.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I do believe, to your point, like it's not an overseas issue. It's a matter of doing it in a transparent manner,
Yeah.
doing it with data-backed strategies, and doing so in a testing environment. Because let's face it, if anybody out there is calling themselves an SEO expert or like they're the best, a guru, if you will, then that is a telltale sign that they really may not be an expert because SEO evolves every second of every day. And I know that's almost hard to comprehend, but every search query that happens in Google informs the algorithms, plural, to then alter and change. And it just is it's a constant evolution. So that's one thing to maybe keep a lookout on if you're looking into search engine optimization for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a massive web. And as marketers, when you're building out SEO, you do run into the lovely updates that Google does that, really don't necessarily help to support our clients, but it's this ebb and flow, and it's an ongoing thing, with SEO, which we'll get into the details of that. But what I wanted to, just segue into is you've generated hundreds of millions through SEO, right? I mean, this is amazing. Congratulations. But what I really want to understand is what do you think is working for 2025 that wasn't working a few years ago? And you kind of began to talk a little bit about it, how it's changing every day. And if John Smith and Katie and whoever is searching right now, I mean, this is real life stuff that's happening, not just nationwide, but globally. But yes, we do focus a lot on SEO from a nationwide standpoint and even in your backyard, just on zip code level. So let's talk a little bit about today and the difference between last year and a couple of years back.
Oh boy. Well, the biggest change, the most radical change that we've seen in the last several months, 6 months or so, is the advent of AIOs, which have really disrupted the search engine results or the SERPs.
And
Meaning,
just further clarify on that
sure.
for the audience, the AIOs.
AIOs are
Yeah.
what you see when you ask Google a question, and it
Yeah.
will give you an AI answer just right there at the top.
Yeah.
That's an AIO, and what it basically does is it takes citations from all over the web. It's the equivalent of, well, or similar to ChatGPT, but
Mm-hmm.
within search. Bing does it as well using ChatGPT. Google has its own version and it's Gemini, but effectively it uses the web to inform its artificial intelligence, right? And that web includes maybe your article, right? So if it's an informational based query, and it's really just really fast, like, hey, how many gallons are in this, right? Just something simple. Then Google will just give you the answer. There's no reason for you to click on another result. So what does that do to the publisher that made the gallons to quarts calculator? Well, now they don't get any traffic because Google just usurped it all, right? So you have to think differently about how you approach not only informational traffic, but also just any type of best content, any keyword that incorporates best in it, you'll likely see an AIO in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's top of funnel informational at that point, and Google wants to basically allow users the best experience. That's been their mission from the get-go, right? It's going to be their mission is to provide the world with access to all the information that's available to them, right? And this is just enabling users to get that information faster. I think that they were pushed into doing this by the advent of ChatGPT and other LLMs, but the direction of this coming has been known for some time.
Yeah. Do you think that, just working with your clients that I mean, of course, you saw a little bit of a dip as AI started to infiltrate into the system,
I think
more
across the
traffic?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think across the board you're going to see a decline in organic traffic. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see a dip in organic leads or
Mm-hmm.
or things like that, because in order for you to get a lead, they will probably have to call you or fill out a form or something like that, right? So that's why at SearchBloom we build from the bottom up, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we start at the bottom of the funnel and we build up from there, because our promise is that of ROI. If we don't get ROI for you, yeah, SEO is something that does take time, but if we're not able to achieve return on investment, we are not keeping our promise. We are not doing our job.
Yeah.
And frankly, I wouldn't want to keep paying us, and I would probably fire us too, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the way that we look at it.
Yeah. When you typically start with a client, whether they are a completely brand new website or they're a website that has minimal amount of authority, they've touched on SEO, they've done some organic, but they haven't really switched on the lever. What you hear things like, 3 to 6 months. What is the true sort of lever? And you could say, well, Sasha, it's industry based. It's not necessarily just, all industries are the same. And it also is depending on whether we're reaching out from a national standpoint or whether it's just from a local standpoint. But what is that kind of time frame? Because, as we all know, entrepreneurs, small business owners are like, now, it needs to happen now. I need to have ROI now.
Well, uh, to every SEO's favorite answer, it depends.
Yes.
And I hate to say that, but I will explain how it
Mhm.
depends. It depends on the market that you're in and the competitiveness of that market. For example, if you're targeting a very large head term nationally or even internationally, that's going to take a long time depending on where you started. Like, how far behind the competition are you? And then we provide a gap analysis, and we can leverage that gap analysis to then forecast and futurecast on where we need to be, what budget is required to get there, right? Whereas with local, almost every, there's a few caveats or exceptions, but almost every local B&M or brick and mortar store, it does not take long to show return on investment. I'm talking 2 weeks, maybe less. And that's
Yeah.
just Google Business Profile optimization that just hasn't
Yeah.
been done. Business owners, they're very busy running a business. They don't have time to optimize their Google Business Profile, let alone get citations and listings elsewhere outside of Google Business Profile. And optimizing their website is just another lever they could pull. But um, in of itself, local SEO, you can move the needle very
Really
quickly.
fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, with Google Business. I completely agree. I love that. Your art framework, authority, relevance, and trust is the foundation of your approach. How has that evolved in today's AI dominated ecosystem?
Um, well, it's a
And tell us
methodology.
a little bit how you coined that, actually.
It's a good question. So it first started off as when I first started the company, it was technology, relevance, trust,
Hmm.
and then over time, it evolved into authority, relevance, and technology. And each of them are very important. And then we've actually just recently added S, so it's arts, so
Okay.
that S is for strategy, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you don't have strategy incorporated, then it's almost like having a gunfight in pitch black, right? So it's very difficult. So strategy is critically important, but breaking it down, how did it evolve? It's evolved over time. We've been in business for over 10 years now. We have to adapt to Google, not just on the SEO side, but also on the ad side, because we provide Google ads for businesses as well. And it is very much a moving target. But with that said, this methodology of art or arts it's stood the test of time. Even with over the past 2 years, I have not seen more changes to the SERP than I have my previous 10 years of experience, or even, gosh, I think it might be 16 years of total experience now. So I've seen a lot of changes in the SERP, especially as it relates to artificial intelligence and AIOs, featured results, all kinds of different things. And I think overall, it has ultimately stood the test of time. So we stick with it.
Yeah. So, we touched a little bit about this just in terms of, the snake oil and like just, some skepticism and, people having, bad experiences, with having either signed on an agency, worked with somebody from Upwork and so on. How do you use, and you talked a lot about ethical, how do you use ethical SEO practices to build that trust in an industry that's, full of black boxes and it's rising because I think there was this, I forget what the name of the company was, but it was all of a sudden like AI can do it for you, write the blogs, like, add all these keywords to your like website and so on and so forth. And it's just, it botched somebody's website, right? So, I mean, how do you conduct that in this ever changing world?
Yeah, so we actually just flip the script, right? So what we do is we practice what we preach. We do our own SEO. All of our leads are inbound 100%. We do no outbound marketing at all,
Yeah.
except for remarketing, and that I wouldn't even consider outbound, right? So effectively, from there, let's say we get a prospect or a lead, and they fit our ICPs. From there, we actually do our due diligence on the company itself. Is
Yeah.
this a company we want to work with? Do they have a good reputation? Um, and if they do, now we move on to again, is this something can we provide a return on investment for? If we can, great, then we move on to the next step. The next step is doing a full audit and proposal. And I'm not talking about some click a few buttons and here's your audit. Here's your SEMrush audit or here's your Ahrefs audit. This is a manual process that we take to ensure that we're bringing on the right partners that we can help and keep our promise. That's the reason that we have been able to be around for so long. You could probably count on your hands and toes how many SEO agencies have been around for 10 plus years. And that's simply because majority of them choose the shortcuts. They choose the profit as opposed to agency profit, that is, as
Yeah.
opposed to playing the long game. Because as you mentioned in the earlier in the beginning there, Sasha, SEO is the gift that kind of keeps on giving, but only if it's strategic SEO, only if it's nurtured SEO. That in that type of SEO takes time to build.
Yeah. I mean, it really does. And then, like I said, I mean, once you get that engine going, I mean, it's just, it's wonderful, I mean, but it's invest in the time, and the energy, and just keep at it. Do you find that a lot of the times that when you bring on clients, you're kind of having to give them a peek into the inside of the back end in terms of what happens, because it's very hard to tactically understand what happens on a day-to-day basis, because SEO isn't just to set it and forget it. We update your websites with a few keywords. It's a constant bid.
Yeah, it evolves over time, especially as for example, we will do a benchmark analysis, right? To essentially see what is basis, where are you currently as it reflects in competition, right? These are your 5 competitors or your 10 competitors. How do you stack up against them? And in what areas do you severely need the help, or where are you lacking, right? From there, we design a custom 90-day roadmap. And that's how we work. Every single 90 days, we're creating a custom 90-day roadmap because things can change. Maybe the business owner needs something on their website changed that is more of a priority than developing a high quality link. And I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
So we enable the reason that we call our clients partners is because we embed ourselves into their team. And we want to know, hey, this is a priority over that. And I get that as a business owner. So I'm going to make room for it in my plan, in my roadmap, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So, you call it the marketing trifecta: SEO, PPC, and CRO. Why is conversion optimization often missing link in campaigns, and how should companies be thinking about it in 2025?
Yeah, well, I mean, small companies, I'll start with them.
Mm-hmm.
Small companies it's important for small businesses to have on their website a form fill above the fold, an action above the fold on every single page, right? That's because when you're in a service business, say you're a HVAC company or a roofing company or a dentistry or
Mm-hmm.
orthodontist, whatever it might be, you're a local service entity. You need to be able to have calls to actions above the fold because majority of people on the internet nowadays, they don't read. They just skim at best, right?
Yeah.
So it's critically important to have those elements above the fold. Whereas with other industries like e-commerce and national SEO, just in general, targeting nationally, you can drive enough traffic to where you can do proper CRO testing, where you can test XYZ variant versus B variant versus C variant, all simultaneously using a tool such as like Visual Website Optimizer. And that's where you start really multiplying your traffic value
Yeah.
because I mean, at the end of the day, what is SEO? SEO provides traffic, right? And it's a form of free traffic. Although you pay for the investment of SEO, it can live and perpetuate for years to come, right? Whereas with Google Ads, it's kind of like more like you're renting. You're renting
Yeah.
that spot. As soon as you stop renting, you don't get any more leads. You're done, right?
Yeah.
SEO will perpetuate. It's more buying a house versus renting a house, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then when you layer on conversion rate optimization, what you're effectively doing is refinancing your house at a much, much lower rate, right?
Yeah.
And it enables you to, by incrementally improving your CVR or your conversion rate, what you're doing, even if it's by a quarter of a point, you are driving more and more and more leads into your business incrementally over time.
Yeah. I've always wanted to ask this question from the standpoint of, you have a company that has a local kind of, chapter, let's say in one state, right? But it could be like an HVAC or a construction company. They do have feet on the ground to support other kind of local communities, but they don't necessarily have the Google My Business address in every spot. How does somebody create hotspots within that local community, but when they only have like one physical office, like in one state?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a few different ways to approach it, and I will give you my preferred way.
Yeah.
One way to approach it would be to have an office in another location that you want to rank in, right?
Yeah.
And that can be difficult because now you have a new Google Business profile that has 0 reviews. You have to build that up, and now let's say you want to rank in 4 or 5 different cities around your main city. Well, golly, that's a lot of admin work for your
Yeah.
for now we're talking about 5 different Google Business profiles.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's all the same business. You're just serving different areas. So
Yeah.
I do not recommend that. That's one. That's one way. And people still do it, but I don't recommend it. The second way is becoming a hybrid business, which is in Google Business Profile, you can have your brick and mortar location, which is your address, and then you can add service areas to your Google Business Profile. And that's an effective route from a Google Business Profile optimization standpoint. You can increase your or expand your proximity in rankings simply by adding service areas,
Yeah.
right? But it doesn't do enough. It does a little bit, but doesn't do enough. So what I do, and what we've trained our team on doing, is doing that, but also creating as well. Local geographic pages in those specific cities. So, for example, if you're in New York, maybe we're talking about a specific borough in New York,
Yes.
in Manhattan, right? Maybe we're talking about the Upper East Side or something like that, or Brooklyn or Bronx or whatever. Having dedicated geographic location pages ultimately sends signals to Google that you service these locations, and you have pages that substantiate that. That's my recommendation.
Yeah, no, I like that because, obviously there is a multitude of, different like I live in South Florida. There is Fort Lauderdale, there's Boca, there's Palm Beach, there's South Miami, there's South Beach, and a lot of people could have one main office, which you call like the hyper local Google My Business. This is the area, this is the radius, but then you service all these other areas. And I think from a service industry, that's really helpful to know, to really kind of expand that reach.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity with Google Business Profile optimization that simply just is not taken advantage of by adding products.
Yes.
And it's a synonym for services. If you're a service business, like if you provide roofing and you provide gutters, well, then you want to have those bifurcated in your Google Business Profile.
Yes.
And doing so in products as well as in the back end in services, it ultimately just again sends signals to Google to let the algorithm know that you want to target these people and these locations for these services.
Yeah. How do you balance out the long-term build out of organic SEO with the short-term paid wins, for folks that want that kind of quick win? Do you automatically bring in Google ads as you guys are building out organic search? Or what is your kind of strategy and method? And I know you're going to say it depends on the client and the industry. And
Yeah, well, you're right. It does depend on the client itself, right? So,
yes.
do they need leads yesterday? Is that a dire need? Then, well, yeah, we're gonna lean into, if it's a service business, we'll probably do LSAs or local service ads. Obviously, we'll be doing search ads, and then we'll lean on SEO long term, right? We'll rent for a little bit. It's just like when you're beginning in your life, you're going to rent for a little while. You don't have the capital to really put down 20% on a home, right?
Yeah.
But over time, you're able to reinvest those dollars that you're making from Google Ads into a longer term solution, which is SEO.
Yeah, no, I like that. And it's also budgetary constraints for somebody. They may, either opt in one before the other and then just kind of build their bucket with, top of the funnel and like, get some clients or whatever it isn't and then kind of add to grow.
Yeah, but budget's it's a big part of it too. Like just it's a big qualifier for us, like in
Yeah.
our business development process, because if they have a $15,000 a month budget, we might be able to do these certain things, right? But it depends very much on the competitive side of it, depends on the location, it depends on if they're national or international or if they're just local.
Yeah.
We might be able to thread in certain aspects of what we do into their campaign or projects with us. But
Yeah.
if we're talking international or national or e-commerce for that matter, yeah, I mean we don't work with people that aren't willing to invest in their home.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that's especially from the Google Ads standpoint.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean if you're not willing to put at least $10,000 into your Google ad spend, you're not going to see enough data in
Agreed.
order for me as an analyst or for my team as analysts to really make decisions
Yeah.
to make it better. So it does take a decent amount of spend to really move the needle.
Agreed. And then on the flip side with organic SEO, what is the sort of starting run rate for a company?
So it depends on the company itself. There's a lot of those. I will just say it frankly. There's a lot of snake oils out there, right? There's a lot of snake oil companies out there. They're going to offer you guaranteed SEO. They're going to offer you guaranteed rankings. Their pricing is going to be so awesome. Maybe it's $400 a month, $750 a month, and you feel like you're getting the best deal in the world. What is happening in reality is not much. You're paying $750, $1,000, $1,500 a month, and you're just not getting what you could be getting out of that investment
Yeah.
with an ethical or a white hat firm like SearchBloom. We
Yeah.
put your dollars to work. Now, we don't offer packages. We don't do silver, bronze, gold, platinum bullshit stuff.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
this is our recommendation. You can go faster or you can stay at our minimum. Our minimum
Yeah.
for a national SEO campaign is $5,000 per month.
Yeah.
And it will go up from there depending on the competition and our current basis with the partner themselves. Like
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
are they in the competitive landscape?
Yeah. And to understand the price that goes into that is really what you talk about, that and the difference between you and somebody who's charging the $400 to $500 is that you guys are like in it, committed. You have your clients, your account folks that are dedicated to each client, and this is a day-to-day practice. It's not a set it and forget it. It's not like a weekly check-in, updates. They're changes that are happening on the minute.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are making substantial changes very quickly.
Yep.
With that being said, we work with a lot of mid-market businesses, enterprise level businesses where things just don't simply move that fast. But we
Yeah.
have the agility where we can work with business owners on the local SEO side. No, it's not $750. Our minimum is $2,500 a month, but
Yep.
you will be able to see substantial growth within 2 months guaranteed in almost every sector. There's only a couple that are so competitive that you might not see it in 2 months, and that's going to be your personal injuries in attorneys in like New York or Manhattan or highly densely populated areas.
Or Florida.
Or Florida,
Personal injury is huge
Orlando,
here.
Miami.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So migrating a little into your internal side, obviously you have, a tenure of almost like 5 years, which is fantastic. And, you operate like a people first agency. And I almost want to, from an internal standpoint, but I almost want to say just from talking to you, you operate also as a business first from an external standpoint, because your guarantee, like I've always said this, I feel like people are more successful when they focus on the success rate of an actual client versus the concentration on, the ROI. Everybody's in business to make money, but when you really focus on pushing clients into the right direction, as we talked from an ethics standpoint, in the end of the day, at the end you're going to make a lot more money, right? So what's your leadership philosophy when it comes to team retention and client retention, because I'm sure that that's pretty big around, with you guys.
Well, I wish I could tell you something that hasn't already been said, but most of it's going to have already been said. Number one is you lead by example.
Yeah.
If you want your team to track their time against a particular project, well, then you need to be tracking your time, right?
Yeah.
If you want to uh, come up with a new strategy or a new idea, uh, again, it comes top down and people first, right? So at the end of the day, um, I think leading by example is a phenomenal way that I think that we've been able to incorporate that into our overall culture, but also holding others to account, like having this is the bar, and it's critically important for your job for you to hit the bar every single time, if not exceed the bar, right? We're looking for those that exceed the bar, because when we hire, we have several different levels of senior SEO specialists.
Hmm.
We've had directors of SEO from other agencies come over to SearchBloom, and their level is a level 1. So
Yeah.
it's just a totally different game when you're playing it at this level.
Yeah. Have you had to make hard choices along the way to get to this point?
So many, Sasha, so
Yeah.
many, and a lot of those are people decisions that maybe it's people that you really like. You really like them, but if they consistently are not meeting the minimum bar or the minimum criteria, after a period of time of coaching and training and holding them to account, well, frankly, there's a giving point,
Yeah.
and that giving point happens in the form of they either leave because they realize they can't do it, or we part ways and we let them go.
Yeah. It is the hardest decision, but at the end of the day, it's business, you know?
Yeah,
Um, So let's talk AI.
yeah,
The ever evolving drumbeat that everybody has been talking about for the last year and a half now. But it's obviously shaken up a lot of core marketing platforms or channels. But and a lot of people, I think, when it first came out, like as marketers who maybe weren't necessarily clued into a lot of martech that already was running a lot of AI, maybe not to the extent of the level in terms of how fast paced it's moving today, but a lot of platforms already had AI embedded, things that were happening from an automation standpoint. But what are the yays and nays when it comes to SEO? And obviously, we'll go back to when ChatGPT first launched, and everybody's like, I can start to produce, blogs on a daily basis. It can be like a dump of a copy and paste. And obviously, them not understanding that this is a Google/Microsoft war where it's like, we're not going to rank your website now because everything is AI generated. But let's just dive in a little bit in terms of do's and don'ts with AI as it relates specifically to organic SEO and if to paid ads as well, Google paid ads.
yes. Let's dive in. So do use it.
Yeah.
I might catch flack for this, but I use it every single day for
And
all
which
kinds.
part? Are we speaking specifically to ChatGPT or?
I don't know that it so much matters. The reason
Yeah.
is because they're all trained on the same a lot of the same data set, which
Yeah.
is the internet, right?
Yeah.
They all are trained on the internet, and in a lot of cases, like for example, DeepSeek was trained using OpenAI, so
Yeah.
ChatGPT. I'm partial to ChatGPT simply because I've used it a lot.
Yeah.
I have it
You've trained
downloaded.
it at this point.
Yeah, if I ask it, who am I?
Yeah.
It
Well,
will tell me who I am. And it
yeah.
will tell me who I am probably better than I could tell me who I am.
Yeah.
I actually did an experiment last weekend and I asked it that question. It was staggeringly correct. And I
Yeah.
told me things about myself I didn't even know, right?
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. But you could do the same thing over time with Perplexity. You could do the same thing. I have my hesitations with Grok. I like Grok. There are some things where it just spins its wheels over and over and over and again. So while I think it's a really quick tool, I don't think its usership is really close to that of OpenAI or ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, these other models out there.
Yeah.
When I say do use it, I mean do use it to come up with ideas. Do use it when you have a question about something that might be not on the internet.
Yeah.
Use it to make your work life more streamlined.
Yeah.
With that said, a way that you do not want to use it is by saying, hey, please write a blog post on this particular subject matter, because Google will know that it's AI out of the gate. It will know that, and then it will deprioritize it right out of the gate. And the problem with that is that now you've told Google that you're taking shortcuts on this website, and Google's going to, over time, if you continue to take those shortcuts, it will deprioritize your entire website, your
Mm.
entire
It's
domain.
it's almost like when folks are focused on, the numbers game of their growth of Instagram and you go out and you start to boost. Honestly, guys, if you boost, it's going to deprioritize your content as well. And it's just like if you go out and work with some of these other platforms that want to build up your following, it's also going to deprioritize because it's going to be the whole algorithm. So, yeah, same kind of connection.
Exactly, exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, it really depends on the endpoint of the goal, right? If
Yeah.
you tell, for example, Facebook or any way Meta, right? If you tell it, hey, I want to increase my followers in a particular location, it will do that thing. But how active are those followers? How much do they really care about your business? Especially as a maybe a local HVAC company. Do you think that a lot of people are using TikTok or Instagram to find their next roofer?
Yeah.
No. In a lot of cases, they are not. Some maybe in different generations, younger generations, they might be using that, using hashtags and things like that, helpful. But ultimately, it will all feed because it's public. In a lot of cases, it will all feed into LLMs. It will all feed into Google. You see the Twitter cards in Google already, and you have for many years. Uh, these are datas that Google takes in and then runs through all of its algorithms and puts it into the SERP where it belongs the best.
Yeah. Without giving away too much of your secret sauce, obviously, what are sort of the top let's say somebody is just kind of creeping into to organic SEO. They're a new business, they are, building out their budget. They want to at least understand how to get that engine started so that when they do have ROI that funnels in, they can go out and hire somebody. How would you kind of put them in a position to start organic SEO, and what platforms would you suggest for them to be using?
Good question. I'll go back to one of those Green Beret quotes: "Slow is smooth, smooth is fast." Right. So
Yeah.
first, find the right partner for your business. Right.
Yeah.
And maybe it's an SEO company that specifically works with roofers. I don't know. There's probably plenty of them. We are agnostic when it comes to industry, except for a couple of industries we just it's no go. But
Yeah.
ultimately, I believe that the first step for maybe a local business that wants to begin their SEO journey, a lot of this can be done on your own. So pull up ChatGPT and ask it. I'm starting to do SEO for my business, and I'm doing it on my own. Can you please write me a guide on how to optimize my Google business profile and my website so that I can get started with search engine optimization, right? So that will help you understand it and all the work that goes into it. And then what you might find out is that after a certain amount of time, you'll learn, oh, I don't have the time to do this.
Yeah.
I'm working on my business or I'm working in my business, right? So in that case, that's when you would outsource it or find a reputable firm that will help you, that will do it for you. And don't, I would say, don't consider that to be, hey, you're hands off, because they're going to need information from you. They're going to need approvals from you. They want to make sure that they're writing in your tone. They want to make sure to match a reputable firm anyway. If they're not asking about tone and style guide and stuff like that, that's a red flag, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Out of the gate. But overall, I would start there. Start with Googling it. Start with ChatGPTing it. Even Grok would give you very great answers because it's well documented on how to optimize your local business profile. From
Yeah.
there, I would step into a citation aggregator. There's several on the market. One of my favorites is Yext. It used
I
to not
loved
be.
Yext, even
Yeah.
from a local business. I actually, funny enough that you bring that up because it's like it slipped my mind, and I was trying to remember because they came into the market from a listing standpoint,
Yeah.
and I actually went behind the scenes to sit in their sales kind of like department to see how they were basically like funneling their sales because they were killing it in the market just from a sales standpoint, and they were benchmark I think at like 29.99 for like every month. So small businesses were just coming in by the dozen. So yes, continue. You didn't used to like it, but now.
Well, I didn't used to like it because what would happen on early on in the days of Yext is when you turned off the 29.99 a month, or if you paid yearly, it was maybe 400 bucks a year.
Yeah.
Um, when you turned it off, it was just like Google Ads. They would take down your citations.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now they don't do that, which is great. You get what you pay for, and it does more. It does more than simply citations. And
Yes.
citations, just for those who are listening, citations is your name, address, phone number, and your website listed on a directory. It could
Yeah.
be Yelp. It could be something you've never heard of, like brownbook.com,
Yeah.
or something that you're very familiar with, like Yellow Pages. Well, you don't get that book anymore, but that book still exists and it exists online, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So getting those citations in place, then the volume of citations you need is very much dependent on the category that you're in, the industry that you're in, and
Yeah.
the competition that you have to beat.
Yeah.
The more citations generally equals the better, but it's to me, it's all about the local citations. So your local chamber of commerce, your local business peers citing you on on their website, that is worth 300
Gold.
yellowbook.coms,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. That's awesome.
It's kind of like
Um,
grassroots marketing or guerrilla marketing, where you're actually going to your local your local business chapter and you're working with local businesses to help one another out. That can be
yes.
that is SEO.
Yeah, totally. I wish the Small Business Association would give us resources like this.
They need that. They need to, right? I'm
Yes.
surprised that they don't. Yeah.
The SBA needs to move in a better direction when it comes to marketing. Um, Cody, what do you think is the trajectory? And this is a loaded question because nobody knows with Google, but I love that you talked about how you guys give updated 90-day tracks for each client. And do you guys do that because of the large changes or the small to medium changes that happen with Google over the course of the year?
No, actually, we don't do that as it relates to any Google updates, because by and large, we are not adversely affected by any Google algorithm updates,
Yeah.
because we do it the right way from the beginning.
Yes. Yes.
With that said, there are some algorithm updates that we simply don't have control over, like AIOs that are simply stealing your content and leveraging it. It does probably make for a better Google user experience, so I'll
Yeah.
give it to them. That's fine, but they are taking your content and using it as a citation. You don't get that click anymore, but you're visible there, so it's maybe moving up a little bit in the funnel, as far as that goes. How do I see it going over the next several years? I'll tell you this. Ever since I began doing SEO or learning SEO, it seems like every year someone says SEO is dead. And here
Yeah.
I am 16, 17 years later, and
It's
SEO
never gonna die.
continues to make me money, right?
Yeah.
Not just me money, all of we're close to $1 trillion in attributable revenue with
Yeah.
over the track of 10 years. I think we're at
Fantastic.
like 800 and something billion. It works, but you have to work it. And the thing is you asked a question without giving away my secret sauce. I'll just give you my secret sauce.
Yeah.
It's very simple. There is no secret sauce. It is
Yeah.
all hard work. It's just work. You have to put in the work. If you don't have the time to put in the work, you have to pay someone to put in the time to put in that work.
It is. And I agree with you, but there is a secret sauce when it comes to how does your formula make this great, right? And it is a formula of how you guys work internally from how your team is built from a cultural and structural standpoint, which then is what translates into the success of each client
Right.
out the gate. Because there could be another a company that launches and does exactly what you do and fail miserably because they don't have that formula of what makes you guys unique, and it starts from within and it starts from leadership as well. So I think that that's also really important to call out.
Yeah, it's our CEO, i.e. me, is
Yeah.
an SEO by trade.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had to learn a lot about leadership and what CEO equals in the agency world, because
Oh yeah.
I started as a SEO, a PPC, and graduated up and up and up. So there's a lot that needs to be done. They're all a little bit different, but it when it comes to the secret sauce component, I would say maybe our methodology, which is publicly available to anybody.
Yeah.
Um, that perhaps that's a part of it, but to your point, I think a lot of it is just cultural. We are not accustomed to losing. In fact,
Yeah.
we hate losing probably more than we love winning because we're just so accustomed to winning.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, here's another win in the wins channel on Slack. That's awesome. We don't have a losses channel at SearchBloom because
Yeah.
it's rare.
Yeah.
And when it happens, because it does, it's a real big blow to not ego, but like
Yeah.
what happened here? Let's do
What
some
happened?
let's do some
Let's
retrospectives.
analyze.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. Cody, this has been super insightful and very rich, in terms of all the details that we dove into. But before I let you go, I like to do a little bit of a quick hits, which is just, fly off some questions, answer them in terms of what first comes to your mind. Marketing buzzword you'd love to retire.
Boost. I want that word to
Same.
die. I hate it so
Yes.
much.
Yes.
And I have people that work with me on like LinkedIn and podcast and all that stuff. And the word boost comes up all the time. I'm like, guys, this is a no-no word because I hate it so much. It's just
Yeah.
been used. Another one is like crush. Like we're
Yeah.
crushing marketing right now. And like, come on, what does crush equal? Let's talk
Yeah.
about the real metrics behind that word, you know?
Yeah. I like it. Favorite SEO win that changed the game for a client?
Um, That one's a difficult one because again, we have a lot of wins. But I'll tell you what. Here's one. If you search grass seed or lawn seed today, right
Yeah.
now, you're
Yeah.
going to see a website ranked on the first page of Google that you've never heard of. The company is called natureseed.com.
Yeah.
To rank for a keyword nationally, internationally at this point,
Yeah.
to rank for that keyword, that imagine the keyword difficulty on grass seed.
Yeah.
And the SERP that's involved, you've got local pack, you've got ads, you've got PAA, you've got all kinds of different stuff in there. Well, you're still going to be seeing my partner's link on the homepage.
Yeah.
It took about 2 years to get them there.
Wow. I love that they stuck with you for that long. I mean, kudos to them for like
They're
wanting
still
to
with us.
invest. Amazing. Amazing. Like I love that. I mean, just as a client in general, like they should congratulate themselves for not giving up. One misconception about SEO that drives you crazy.
Hmm. That it has to take a long time all the time. It
Yeah.
doesn't actually. What can be perceived as a long time, it actually could be a very short amount of time. So, like, what equals long time? Long time might be 1 to 2 years to some people, whereas you approach an enterprise or a mid-market level partner or prospect, that is not a long time.
Yeah.
Whereas you're talking with a small business, a long time is a year, right?
Yeah.
A long time is 3 months. With how we do search engine optimization at the local level, you should see a real impact on your business, meaning you should be getting more phone calls, more direction requests if that's the business model that you're in. You
Yeah.
should be getting more form fills within a matter of 2 months, 3 months, unless you're in one of those ultra competitive categories in an ultra densely populated area.
Yeah. Best leadership advice you've ever received.
Ah, serve to survive. And
Mm.
you're gonna love this
Unpack that.
because I didn't I didn't get that from anybody but a song. It
Yeah.
came from Lil Wayne actually.
I
One
love
of
it.
one of his songs it just mentions serve to survive.
Yeah.
And another one that kind of goes alongside with it is like leaders eat last. And
Yeah.
I know that it kind of conflicts with like if you're going to help somebody get off of a airplane that's going down, first put your mask on first. That makes sense, sure.
Yeah.
When you're in a life and death situation, but when you are not, your predominant job as a leader is to serve your people. Period.
Yeah. I love that. It's true. I went to a conference and as we all know, Magic Johnson is extremely charming, but he's also very, I think, in terms of what he's done, is very aspirational. And somebody stood up and said, "What makes a good entrepreneur?" And he said, "Giving your clients 150%." He said, "You will never survive if you give them just what the scope of work was to deliver." So I
It's
love
true.
this serve to survive.
Constantly, our CFO will say, "Hey, you lost money on this engagement. You
Yeah.
lost money on this engagement. You lost money here." Well, we had to in order
Yeah.
for the partnership to really work.
Yeah. I love that. Like I said, I mean, you guys are an internal people first, and you're definitely an external. You're putting your clients first on all levels, which I really love. So thank you for that, Cody. This has been great. We'll link your website and we'll link your LinkedIn so that people can connect with you. Post this podcast. We
Awesome.
appreciate your time.
Well, it's been my pleasure.
Thank you.